Welcome to the Sip Revolution podcast, your ultimate destination for navigating the world of alcohol without surrendering the sips you enjoy. I'm your host, Salome, and I'm passionate about helping you reclaim control over your drinking. In this podcast, we're on a mission to equip you with practical, science-backed strategies that will help you transform your relationship with alcohol on your own terms. We will also uncover how society and the film industry often normalize and romanticize alcohol and the profound impact this has on our physiology and psychology. And we'll dig into the nitty-gritty of how alcohol affects your brain, both physically and mentally. So whether you're trying to cut back, moderate your intake, or simply gain a better understanding of your drinking habits, the Sip Revolution podcast is your partner in crime on this life-changing journey. So let's start this adventure together. Grab your favorite drink, or not, settle in, and let's sip our way to a healthier and wiser relationship with alcohol. Cheers to a new perspective on sipping. Welcome to this new episode of the Sip Revolution podcast. Following the last episode on my best tips for a successful dry January, I wanted to tell you a bit more about my own experience of dry January and what I think of this challenge in general. So, I tried to do dry January for the first time back in 2018. I think it's when the challenge started to become popular and I heard about it on social media, it was trendy. But I also think subconsciously, I knew that I should slow down on my alcohol intake. But this was not verbalized at the time. So I just decided to do the challenge and I didn't think much of it. I downloaded this cute Dry January app where there are little fireworks when you log an alcohol-free day, but you can also log your drinks. So if you do drink, you can say what quantity and what type of alcohol. So I downloaded the app and I was fully ready to have 31 little fireworks on my calendar at the end of the month to show that I successfully completed the challenge. But something else happened. I had a drink on day 2. So I failed the challenge on day 2. It was a surprise, it was a shock, and I decided that I failed because I wasn't motivated enough or I didn't take it seriously. Even though this was the end of the challenge for me, it did give me a lot to think about. I couldn't go for more than 48 hours without drinking. But it wasn't a physical addiction in the sense that I didn't have withdrawal symptoms. It was mentally. I just couldn't bear the idea of spending a night without a drink. The idea of not having a glass of wine after a long day or a cold beer on a Friday night made life look dull and uninteresting. After this dry January of 2018, I became a lot more aware of my alcohol consumption, and I started to try the moderation game by creating rules. Things like only on weekends, not before 6 p.m., only when I am out with friends. But I would never stick to these rules for more than a few days, which is very unlike me. I usually am a very strict person with myself, and I am very good at following my own rules. But this was different. A good example is back in 2020 when I moved to the UK. It was a new year, new country, new apartment and new job, the perfect conditions to make drastic changes. I was committed to take this as a fresh start and adopt healthy habits. I decided to create a new rule, which was no alcohol in the apartment. I didn't want to associate my place with drinking. I didn't want to create this new connection in my brain, and I wanted my new apartment to stay an alcohol-free zone. But something very interesting happened. The day I got the keys of the place, I spent the day cleaning it, and once I was done, I had this thought. I need a bottle of wine to celebrate. I had a little mental battle between my rule of not drinking in the flat and this little voice that said, "Just this time, you deserve it. It is a special occasion." But let me tell you, this one special occasion turned into an almost everyday thing. I never respected my rule. When I moved into a new place the following year, the same thing happened. I set the rule of no alcohol in the new apartment, and I broke the rule on day one because I needed to celebrate. So between 2018 and 2021, I went through phases of restricting my drinking and then giving up, but I never managed more than a couple of weeks sober in a row. Then in October 2021, I started the Sinclair method. If you are not familiar with this method, it involves taking a medication that temporarily pauses the reward system. So when you drink alcohol, you don't get your usual rush of endorphins, and you slowly learn to unlink alcohol with high reward. The key component of this method is to keep drinking whenever you crave a drink, which is basically the exact opposite of what you do when you do dry January. Then in January 2023, I finally was in a better place and I decided to give the challenge another go. I still had the strong memory of my first dry January, and I didn't want to risk another failure. I decided to have a very low-key dry January. This means that I put intentions in drinking less, but I allowed myself to drink if I was really craving it. This means that I put intentions in drinking less, but I allowed myself to drink if I was craving it. This was important for two reasons. One, it is the protocol of the Sinclair method. I need to address my cravings by taking the medication and drinking alcohol, not pushed through the craving. And reason two was that what is forbidden is always more desirable, and I didn't want to put alcohol on a pedestal. I managed 20 alcohol-free days out of 31 days, which was a huge jump for me. Before that, I was averaging maybe 5 or 6 alcohol-free days a month, so having 20 was a huge success. The challenge, something really interesting happened. Since dry January 2023, I observed a huge decrease in my drinking. Basically, there is a before dry January 2023 and an after. So even though I didn't complete a full dry month, doing the challenge had a huge positive impact on my drinking overall. So what now? Here we are, it is January 2024, and I am down to less than 5 drinks per month. However, I decided not to do dry January for the reason that I mentioned earlier. I know that if I make a rule that drinking is not allowed, I will crave it a lot more than if I stay chill about it. So this is my experience with dry January over the years. You probably understand better why I call it a love-hate relationship. It brings up difficult memories, but it is also thanks to dry January that I was able to take a step back, realize what was going on, and slowly work on my recovery. I think it is one of the major advantages of dry January. If you try the challenge, it will tell you something about yourself. Is it easy? Is it hard? Is it impossible? Do you end the challenge feeling refreshed, or do you feel more dreaded than ever? More than the behavior itself and the number of sober days, take this as an opportunity to observe how you navigate the challenge. I hope you found this episode helpful. DM me on Instagram if you have any question about dry January or alcohol in general. I am always up for a good chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to learn more about my story and the science behind moderate drinking, download your free handbook in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, leave me a rating or a review. It helps us reach even more listeners and transform lives. I'll see you next time on the Sleep Revolution podcast.